guess I'll call this meeting of the May 6, 2021 Ellettsville Plan Commission to order. Sandy, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance since you're the only one I can see?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is Denise, or who does the roll call? Denise does roll call? Is she there?
Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
David Drake,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
Here.
Terry Baker,
Here.
Don Calvert,
Here.
Sandra Hash,
Here.
Pamela Samples,
Here.
Thank you. I will sure be glad when we go back to regular meetings.
I'm here too.
Okay, is there?
I'm sorry.
What?
I forgot to say Pat's name.
Oh. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on March 4th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
David Drake,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Terry Baker,
Yes.
Don Calvert,
Yes.
Sandra Hash,
Abstain. I wasn't in attendance.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
and Pat Wesolowski.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have a monthly conflict of interest statement? All right, we have no old business. New business is petition for a zoning map amendment to rezone 450 North Constable Drive from R1 single family residential to R3 multifamily residential. The petitioner is Tom Landis, case number PC 21-12. Kevin, would you like to address that?
All right. Sorry about that. Forgot to unmute myself.
Oh, I forgot to start the recording. Just 1 second.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, Denise.
It makes the minutes a lot quicker when you don't record it. All right. Good evening. We only have one hearing tonight. This is for a zoning map amendment at 421 North Constable Drive. Currently, the property is zoned R1 single family residential, and the applicant is requesting to have it rezoned to R3 multifamily residential. There are two houses on the site currently. One has 2 units, rental units. The other one's a single rental unit for 3 total dwelling units. So it's being used as a multifamily lot currently as a legal non-conforming use. The reason for the rezone, which I should say has no effect on the current use of the property. They can continue using the existing structures as multifamily since they've been in existence. The reason for the rezone is the owners have inquired about possibly adding another 2-unit structure on the southern side of the parcel, which there's, I think, around 8,000 square feet. So it's just a little under the size of a minimum size of a residential lot. The zoning map amendment has been, oh, I can't even read what I wrote. So zoning map amendment request has been properly noticed by mail and in the Ellettsville Journal. Tonight for the Planning Commission, you'll be considering 5 criteria for your recommendation to Town Council, who will make the ultimate vote on the rezone. But what you'll want to look at is the comprehensive plan, the current conditions and character of the current structures and uses in this district, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted, the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction, and responsible development and growth. And those items I touched on in the staff report. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to ask. Just a quick map of zoning. Blue highlighting didn't really show up as well as I thought it would in the single family. Everything in brown is R3 multifamily, which is mostly Richland senior housing, and a couple of vacant lots currently where Constable ends. So if this were to be rezoned to R3, it would match up with the zoning to the north and east. And just in case anyone's unfamiliar with the lot, the town hall property is just to the northwest of there, and Main Street runs just to the south. And kind of a closer view of the actual lot. I drew a black dotted line across. I don't know if that's the exact right spot, but roughly this square would be about 8,000 square feet. And that's the area they'd be looking at adding an additional structure, which would include any off-street parking.
Kevin, does 8,000 square feet equal a quarter an acre?
No.
I thought a quarter an
It's-
acre was our
Is
minimum.
it? Yeah, it's just, well, and that's why they're wanting it rezoned, because it wasn't large enough to subdivide. If you rezone it to multifamily, you don't have to have a separate lot for each unit, for each structure. So, I mean, it's big enough for it to fit on there, but it's smaller than our minimum lot size would be if it were separated out as its own lot. They're going to keep it as one parcel. They're not going to subdivide. And just some pictures I took of the site. You see the existing house. This one's one with 2 units in it. Looking at it. This is a shot I took of where the vacant area is. The bottom picture is looking straight on. The other picture is kind of looking from Constable back towards Main Street and going across where that lot is. And the other house here, this is a single unit. Both houses are on the same lot, and that's just kind of looking down the back. It's bordered by a fence on the backside. And that is all I have for my presentation. I can answer any questions right now, or if not, I can turn it over to the petitioner. I believe they have some more they would like to add.
Kevin, can you go back about 4 slides? One more. Let's see. No, that's still not it. There was a picture that's showing where the lot there it is.
Yeah.
Now, is that grayish, dark grayish color? Is that a pond or marsh or what? Right in front.
I think it's,
Oh, go ahead, Sandy.
I was going to say, never mind.
Okay. No, there's 2 houses on there, and then there's a little parking area.
Okay, but now to the left of that parking area, there's a grayish color right in. Keep going.
This,
No, in front of the cars. There. Back up.
that's just grass.
Brown grass.
I think
Yeah,
that's
I'll show you
the
the-
bottom of the tree.
Okay.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Here, I'll show you this picture right. The picture in the bottom right corner, that's the parking area right there, and that's just looking straight back.
Okay.
It's,
I've got a question too, Kevin.
Yeah.
Is the structure that's got there are 2 apartments in there or what? And is
yeah, it's been split up into apartments sometime in the past.
is that conforming with our code and everything?
It's a legal non-conforming.
And could you go to that one you had a dotted line across where Sandy was asking about the 8,000? Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Where are they going to put that? Is it a double or a triple?
It would be a double. I don't know exactly how it'd be situated on the lot, but I've talked to the petitioner about having the adequate parking and meeting setbacks, and I believe that they
I've
have
got some
plans that will
information
do
to
that.
share that will help clarify that as well.
I do have a raised hand. Kevin, would you like to address that now, or would you like to wait?
Well, if it's from one of the board members, yes. If it's public comment, I think that should wait till we get
Okay, it's a public comment.
I've got a couple of questions for you.
Go ahead.
Okay, how wide is Constable Street?
I do not know.
It's pretty narrow, isn't it?
It's narrow. It's a one-way street. So
Okay. Okay. But I know we had one person concerned about the width of it, the traffic coming through, and I was just interested in how wide that street really is.
I mean, it's fairly narrow. You can fit 2 cars on it at one time.
No,
if
you
need
can't.
be. All right. Please, no comments from the gallery right now.
And there's no on-street parking, I don't believe, is there?
There is not, and that's one of the things I talked about with the petitioner, is that you will have to provide the required number of parking spaces off-site or on-site.
We don't require any sidewalks there, do we? Or do we?
No, I mean, not for, it's already platted. We wouldn't.
Okay.
Theoretically, the only way we could make them build a sidewalk's right in front of that, and it wouldn't connect to anything. So that's kind of
All right.
pointless.
You know, we said that a long time ago about the sidewalks. They wouldn't connect to anything, but eventually they all might. I remember when we discussed sidewalks years ago, and just throwing that in.
I think we only require sidewalks with new subdivisions, the way it's
Okay.
written in our code.
Okay, thank you.
I think.
That is probably correct. Would make sense.
Okay, since I can't see any hands, I can't see that on my phone. Was there anybody else from the planning commission that had questions?
Darla, Westbury has a question. Darla, can you unmute your computer there? There you go.
Sure.
Excuse me. David, can you have everybody clearly say their name before they start speaking?
Hang on a second, everyone. Before we go to public comment, can we open it up for the petitioner to do their presentation, please?
Still on planning commission comment.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that wasn't the planning commission member that wanted to speak?
No, I'm sorry. That was a person from the public.
Okay, so let's have the petitioner speak. That would be Mr. Landis, I think.
That's me. Thank you. I do have some slides to share. If Kevin, I think if you stop sharing your screen, I can share mine.
All right. Hang on.
And this is the witching hour in the Landis household, post-dinner, pre-bath. So I apologize for any child noises in the background. My 6-year-old did barge in a minute ago and he said, I have a molar coming in, my back molar. I thought it was a blister. Okay. Awesome. Great. Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate the time. I've got just a couple quick comments that I think will help to clarify some of the questions and also to hopefully ease some of the concerns from some of the folks that are nearby. I did get a chance to talk to just one of the neighbors about this, and that was a while ago, but she wasn't able to be here. But Darla, I know we kind of are across the street from each other. We've never actually met. Nice to meet you. To introduce myself and my business partner, my wife, we're the owners of this parcel, and our goal is to acquire rentals. And in our rental portfolio, we hope to honor our residents, we hope to honor the community, and we hope to honor the environment as much as possible. We got started 9 years ago when I was just finishing grad school, and my wife was just beginning grad school. And we were up in Fort Wayne, and we found an old rundown house. It had been empty for a year and a half. And we had $1,200 to our name. And the house was listed for around $40,000. And we used a 3.5% FHA loan. And we used nearly every dollar that we had. And the only way that we could qualify for financing is if I snuck into the house, attached the water lines, and fixed the sewer with the realtor who let me in before the bank inspection came through. And we spent 3 years in that property. We spent our evenings and our weekends. Anytime we got an extra $100, we went to Lowe's. We were in our early 20s. And instead of going out and partying, we were working on this property. And 3 years later, we installed our final piece of trim. And my wife, Rachel, got an offer. She completed grad school. She got an offer down here at IU, and we listed it on the market. And when we moved to Bloomington, we bought that place for $40,000. We sold it for $80,000, and we were thrilled. It was a lot of hard work. The hourly rate was terrible, but we got down here and we thought, hey, let's see what $80,000 will get us. And of course, we found out that not very much in Bloomington, but that didn't falter our core philosophy, which is how can we improve the space that we are in? And so we found a space on Bloomington's east side. It was a rental that had been seriously neglected for 20 years. And we came in here and we had a 1-year-old at the time, and we rehabbed that property, this time much quicker. And we used the equity that we created from our Bloomington property to buy 415 Constable Drive. And we still maintain that perspective of how can we offer some value? Well, before we bought this place, it was, I think, a fire. It had destroyed the property. I know that the former owner bought the property for $25,000, and they worked very hard to fix it. Maybe they cut some corners along the way, but they're the ones who created it into a duplex. And the fire burnt a breezeway to 421 that I assume used to be a mother-in-law suite or something like that. So there really wasn't a lot for us to fix except for some brush overgrowth, which we have cleared. And there was some pretty serious water problems. You can see from the topo lines that water definitely drains down, but what we had found is that the basement unit had flooded several times, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. There was a sump pump installation there. And when we inspected the property, that was one thing we were really concerned about, but we saw that system. We thought, okay, this will be good. It wasn't good. It flooded. We got a note that we got a call that there were 6 inches of water in the basement. And so we found out that it was really a grading problem. So a lot of that gray that you were asking about earlier, that's from some of the grading work that we did to make sure that groundwater flows away from the house, but also stays on our property. You could see how it would be really easy to flood the folks who are on the other side of the fence line. And we wanted to make sure that didn't happen, and as much as we could control. And we also had some serious problems with tenants. And these were not tenants who we selected. We have a professional property manager, Sarge Rentals, who does a great job helping us out with our tenants. And I can confidently say that every tenant problem that we've experienced has been from folks who came before we owned the property. And we've really cut our teeth as real estate investors, because we've seen a lot with some of these folks, and we've learned how to make sure that we match folks with the property, so that way it honors the community, right? And we're not just trying to get anybody in. But we want to make sure that our properties are open and available to people. And I think that's an important point as we think about building. And so here you can see the area, roughly 8,000 square feet is where it would go. And I've got some plans on the next slide. You can see where it does meet all of the setback and the road frontage requirements. The only problem is that it's not that 10,000 square foot lot size. and there might be some parking issues if it stays residential. But I think there's some value to be had here. I think that this project fills the comprehensive plan's call for some infill projects. And I think it also offers some solutions that I'll show you for some parking that we're experiencing. You can see we've got a gravel pad there where those 2 cars are. That's insufficient, it's not appropriate, and it's definitely not long-term. But we needed something, at least for temporarily, and it works for now. But this is what we'd like to do, is to expand it. And before I kind of talk about some of the plans, I hope that to shed some light on what I think about this parcel. I know that there's a lot of single family housing and folks are like, I don't want to live next to multifamily. From the way I see it, Constable Drive is a multifamily neighborhood. You're right next to the R3 zoning, and the lot itself is multifamily. It's been multifamily, and just one parcel to the south is a whole series of duplexes. And so I look at this and I think Constable Drive is a multifamily neighborhood, and I have reason to believe it will stay a multifamily neighborhood. And I'll share that briefly in just a second. But I want to emphasize that I think multifamily is great. I think it's good for Ellettsville. We know that Ellettsville is growing, and we know that Ellettsville needs additional housing options. It's not feasible to believe that everybody can buy a house. It's not feasible to believe that everybody wants to buy a house. And if you look at the median rent, the median income in Ellettsville is around $52,000. In order to have an affordable housing solution, that means your housing costs needs to be around $1,250. And that far exceeds the rents that we currently collect on our 3-bedroom properties. And that would be what we would like to install here, is a 2 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom duplexes. And I feel confident that we could be competitive with rents in an affordable area, so that way more people can have access to some quality housing. And I said earlier that I think Constable will always be a multifamily neighborhood, and that's because partly the lot itself. When Rachel and I were looking to buy this property, we learned that it does not qualify for residential financing because you have one single family residence, that's 421, and you have a duplex, and they're on the same lot. So because you have 2 properties on the same parcel, it doesn't qualify for residential loan products, which means putting a duplex there does not take an opportunity from somebody else who could be a homeowner, who maybe wants to be a homeowner. It's not feasible for them, because that's going to have to be a 25% down variable rate mortgage product that you have to hold in an LLC. So from my vantage point, I see that this property, whether we own it or not, without significant change, will always be a commercial lot. And a lot of folks I know don't want to live next to multifamily units. And one of the problems is they say, well, it's going to affect our property values. Well, there was a brand new house that was just built, and it sold recently for $250,000 on Grant Street, just to the north. And I've got a slide that I can share if we want to, that shows that. From what I can tell, any impact on the multifamily residences in this area on the property values has already been accounted for. And if I can point out here, 2 of those single families here at the end of Grant Street on this stub are actually zoned R3 multifamily residential. Now, there are definitely some problems. I hear the concern about the narrow street, and I agree. It is quite a narrow street. And Darla, I'm with you. I don't think 2 cars could fit on that. Not comfortably. You might be able to make it work if they're compact. But in our plan, what we would be able to do is add 8 additional spaces. So that would be a total of 12 parking spaces, which actually exceeds the minimum requirement for commercial properties by 2. So we'd have 2 extra parking spaces on that space. And we'd also be able to manage any of the water drainage. you can see on my very fancy sketch that we have a sump discharge. I would have, of course, moved that to the back part, and I would install, my plan, it would be to install a rain garden with some native plants that will help to absorb that water, that will keep the water on site. Another great thing is that I think that building on that lot offers more value than leaving it empty. I think it provides some great opportunities for folks who want to live in Ellettsville at an affordable rate. And I think it provides some great opportunities to maintain the character of the property itself and enhance its value. My wife and I have the perspective that everything we will own for the next 75 years. And we intend to give these things to our kids, or at least give them the choice of what they want to do with it. So when we make repairs, we don't think in the short term. We think what's going to add value, meaning what's going to be best for this property and what's going to be best for the people who live there. And I can promise you, if you look at our bank account, it also agrees that we're not looking primarily at profits. We're looking at people first. And profits, I hope, will come in the long term. So I thank you for your time. I hope that my thoughts help to provide some insight. And I hope that that also sheds maybe a little bit of light with some of the community, a lot of folks who I haven't been able to meet, which is unfortunate, but thank you so much. And I'd like to also answer any questions that you all might have.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone from the Planning Commission have questions for Mr. Landis?
I got a couple, Dave.
Go ahead.
This is Pat Waslowski. If I read the information correctly, you're going to charge around $1,250 for it per month?
Well, yeah, that would be what the rents would be considered to be within the 30% range of the median income. I suspect our rents would be closer to 1,000 or 1,050, which is where they are now.
Because for low income, that sure isn't a low income price.
Well, that's true. It is within that range of the median household income. And it's also, we are open to having Section 8 folks. We've had a lot of them in the past. And it's also within the range of what HUD will offer.
Okay, another question I have, how big of a structure is that going to be?
Well, we've got, oh darn, I didn't scan that one in. So there's basically a building envelope of 2,700 square feet. So you could have potentially 1,300 square feet each side, which is a reasonable sized duplex.
Will it contain a garage or no?
It could. If we needed to go 2 stories, then we would put a garage in. I think to be competitive with price, we'd have to leave it at 1 story. And I think we can solve our parking issues without a garage, but it wouldn't be unheard of.
Kevin, would they be legal to have a garage on the premise with the duplexes there combined?
Do they need to have one, or can they have one?
Can they have one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The garage space would take away from living space. And for me at least, I'd rather have more space to have my daily activities. But it would be reasonable to consider, yes.
On the drainage away from the house, I remember under the previous owner, there was a period of time we got a lot of complaints on the mold in one of these houses.
Oh.
And so I'm sure that was due to that wet basement.
Yeah.
But with you covering up the impervious areas there, or pervious, whatever the term is, well, I would think it would be pretty difficult to avoid standing water around that. Did you, I mean, when we do a subdivision, they have retention ponds that hold the water.
Sure.
And water could be a concern for me.
Has engineers looked at this at all?
Well, no, I wanted to see first what would be feasible. And before we go sinking in lots of funds to this, so no, I have not had any engineers look at it yet.
I know it would be more profitable to build the duplex, but you would definitely have more grassy area if you built a single family or just a single unit.
I imagine if we did build a single family, again, to be competitive with what folks are looking for, I know people want more house than less house. And I would imagine that when we, interview builders and that kind of thing, the recommendation would be to take up most of that space. I do hear you though, and I do believe in green space. And I understand your sentiment as well with that.
Kevin, what do you think about the water in that area? If you,
We haven't had any issue with water in that area since I've been here, so I'm not really familiar with what issues there may be.
Would it be advisable for us to have an engineer report on that?
I mean, it's something that could be looked at if we got to the point of construction, but
Well, and the reason I don't know the area that well, but listen to Sandy and listen to the petitioner, they did have water problems there, and they themselves tried to curtail it.
Kevin, would there be, since this R3, I guess, is technically commercial, would there be more review of those issues at a later time before anything was actually built?
only if it was more than 2 units being built.
Because really, I mean, right now, are we not just talking about rezoning as opposed to exactly what structure would be built there?
Correct. All we are looking at tonight is changing the zoning to allow for additional residential, whether it's a single on that lot or a double, or I mean, whatever you could fit that would meet density really, but so I mean,
So-
that could still change.
I've got a question when you have a chance.
Go ahead.
Okay, where is the nearest Section 8 housing to this location?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
your units that you're renting now are not Section 8 rentals?
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah, they're approved for Section 8. In our most recent vacancy, we actually didn't have anybody apply from Section 8, which I was really surprised by. And I kept asking our property manager, this is on the Section 8 website, right? And I was like, have we had any HUD applicants? So we did just fill a vacancy, but they're not on HUD assistance.
Kevin, relaying to David's question, tonight all we have to do is okay the rezone or deny it, correct? And then they have to come in front of us for building?
No,
No, tonight, okay, tonight you're just making a recommendation to town council on the rezoning.
but once it's rezoned, there's no going back.
Well, I understand what you're saying there, but we're not talking about structures today. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
If it most likely won't come back before Planning Commission if it's only 1 or 2 units being built.
Can we?
In other words, there's not going to be a development plan because of the size of the project. If that's what you're asking, Pat.
Yeah, that's right. Because I'm asking, I'm concerned about the water now. As Sandy said, and as the gentleman that's going to put this building up, they had problems with water there. And my question is, aren't we supposed to check on that? Make sure that water is not going to go to other places where it's not supposed to be going to? before it's built?
Since we've done the grading work, we haven't had any water issues. If that helps.
So Kevin, is there anything that they could put on that spot right now?
The way it's zoned, all they can do right now is what they're doing is use it for parking or just leave it green space where they could put a garage. I mean, you couldn't put another dwelling unit on there right now.
Okay, but they could turn it into a blacktop parking lot if they wanted to.
Oh, they could pave the whole thing if they wanted.
Okay.
I hope they don't.
So can we make a condition, recommend a condition of approval that that the development plan or a site plan come back to the plan commission?
I'm
I
not
think
sure. Oh, go
I
ahead,
think
Darla.
if you want to know, if you want more information, you should do it now and table it until the petitioner comes back with what you want, as opposed to trying to impose a condition. I'm not sure you can impose a condition on a rezone in any event. I know there are commitments that you can have petitioners make with regard to PUDs, but I would suggest that you get your answers up front.
So would having our town engineer look at this issue be sufficient for those who want it looked at further, as opposed to the petitioner having to pay a bunch of money to have an engineering study done?
Well, you could ask Bynum Faneuil, but I think they're going to charge the town.
Oh.
So,
I mean, I can have our stormwater inspector take a look at it, and he's pretty educated on these type of issues. I think that would, and he will be back in on Monday to work. I think that would get you a pretty good answer. But I mean, like I said, we haven't had any complaints or anything stating that there's been water issues currently, so I'm not really sure what there's
That
going
was
to be to
quite
look at.
quite some time ago that we had the complaints, and we didn't have any thing in place to help renters for inspections or rules.
And
So
yeah, and I remember way back when I first started that someone had gone in, it looked like they're putting a perimeter drain around the 2-unit house. So I would imagine that's probably taking care of a lot of the problems. I don't know if there was so much water runoff. I think it was just the way the house was built.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that we do that. I just was trying to address if that was going to be a big concern for someone else on the council. Okay, for the time being, do we have any further questions for Mr. Landis or for Kevin? Okay, seeing none. Sandy, I'm not sure how we logistically do this because I can't see anything. But we allow 3 minutes for each person to state what they would like to say about the petition and direct questions to us, not to the petitioner, and we will see if we can get them answered. So how do you want to do this, Sandy?
well, there earlier there was Darla, not Darla, our attorney, but another Darla had her hand up. I'm having trouble finding her, but if she's still there.
Would it be possible to stop sharing the screen right now so we could see the entire?
Yes.
Hey.
Thank you.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
I think just have people put their hand up, and whoever has their hand up, I can call on them one at a time to speak.
Kevin, would you like for me to switch the host to you?
No, I'm good. You don't need to.
Okay.
Darla does have her hand up.
Yes.
Hi. So I live on the corner of Constable and Grant,
I'm sorry, what's your
and
name?
my name is Darla Westbury.
Thank you.
So I live on the corner of Constable and Grant. And my concern is if the lot isn't quote unquote technically big enough, how can it even A, be a consideration of? And B, if I'm a residential homeowner, how's that gonna affect my taxes and my property being moved from residential to commercial? What does that mean for my well-being and my finances?
Well,
Taxes wise?
this is not really commercial. R3 just means multifamily. It does not mean commercial. Correct, Kevin?
That's correct. And I believe her property is actually already zoned multifamily, so their rezoning shouldn't have any effect on how yours is assessed.
How is mine zoned for R3 when there's a 900 square foot house on it?
Well, the zoning is R3. I'm not sure why it was like that, but that's how it's been since I've been here.
It's
So
barely a quarter, it's just minimum standards of a quarter acre. There's no way I wouldn't see that, but yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, I struggle to be a homeowner in a residential area and I'm suddenly surrounded by renters and I just don't like it. I've just got my concerns is all.
Okay,
I've got more trash in my yard now than I've ever had going across the street. I pick up trash in my front yard at least 3 days a week from across the street. I know it can't be helped. That's the way the wind blows. I get it. Yeah, but it is what it is. But I can only imagine how much more trash is going to be blown across the street with 2 more units being built. Is there any way to maybe take care of the trash concern?
so are you trying to say that the trash is coming from Mr. Landis's
The whistles.
property?
Yes. And I'm not going to say it's his fault. I'm not going to say it's the renter's fault. They've got kids. They leave stuff laying around. It blows across the street in my yard. I get cups. I get soda pop bottles, like cans, straws, cigarette butts, you name it. I'm picking it up 3 times a week. I can only imagine what 2 more units would do.
Okay. All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to say?
Is that going to affect my property taxes?
It shouldn't affect your property taxes.
Just checking.
Excuse me, Dave, her time's up.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, it shouldn't have anything to do with your property taxes.
I just wanted to check with the rezoning is all. Potentially.
No. It won't change anything on your property because your property is not being rezoned. So no, it wouldn't affect your taxes at all.
But technically what goes around your area also increases yours. You know what I'm saying? It can't
Yeah. I'm
build
not
on one
really
side of the street, not affect the other.
sure. Okay. All right. Was there anyone else from the public who wanted to address this?
I see another hand, Heather Anderson.
Hello. So my name is Heather Anderson. I'm actually the property manager for Thomas and Rachel with Troa LLC. And Darla, I'm very sorry to hear that you have experienced issues with trash in your yard, but I would encourage you to reach out to us anytime you have issues with that. We're happy to be the middleman between the tenants and yourself to help resolve those issues, because I know that is not something that we stand for as a company, but that's also not something that Thomas and Rachel are comfortable with happening. So please feel free to reach out to us in the future. And I can also attest to Thomas and Rachel's care and just making sure that the tenants are cared for, their properties are cared for. It's definitely not anything that I believe should ever negatively impact the neighborhood. And I just wanted you and everybody else in the community to know that we can be here as a helpful hand in that process. You don't have to feel like the tenants just have no authority, because we can be that authority. So happy to help with that. And I would also like to say that more rentals in this town is certainly helpful. We have lots and lots of people who are constantly looking for housing, quality housing that has been well cared for. And that is what, again, Thomas and Rachel are striving for. So that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Honestly, until today, I didn't know who owned the property. I don't know who to call. I have a name, a number, I have nothing.
If you want to jot something down, I can give you a number if that's okay.
Sure.
812-330-1501. And my name's Heather.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Yep.
Okay, is there anyone else from the public? Was there any further questions from anyone on the Plan Commission?
You hear that noise? That's my new neighbor. It's coming from Miss Strange's property right now.
What are they
Okay, well,
doing?
maybe I can check on that. So
what you're saying, Darla, if we got any concerns on the Plan Commission, any of the members, it should be presented now and not later. Am I correct?
I would do that just to kind of keep things neater and cleaner, because
We have another raised hand.
otherwise what you have to do tonight is decide whether or not to send it to the town council with no recommendation, a positive recommendation. So,
can we mute whoever?
mute first. Thank you. And so I think just procedurally to try to send it to the town council with some sort of condition, and then let's say they approve it and they send it back and the condition's not met, and I'm having trouble in my head figuring out, because it's kind of hard to nail down right now what it is that you want. I mean, I understand that you want some proof that an extra house is not going to cause drainage problems, but trying to put that in as a condition that everybody's going to understand, I think is going to be difficult. So I would satisfy yourself first that there's not going to be a drainage problem if you're concerned about that.
Could we see the picture of the rooftops from the senior citizens to see about how much land surrounds those?
Which picture was that? That wasn't in my presentation, was it?
Maybe not. Maybe it was in Mr. Landis's. Just some rooftops there. It seems like I saw them somewhere.
Well, they were on the zoning map. You could see the rooftops on page 6. No, well,
Oh, let me
after
see.
page 5 of 5, whatever.
Okay, I can see a few of them on where the topo map
This-
has.
This is what I have on mine. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about something else?
No, that I think there's a little better shot. It says Constable full parcel at the top of the page.
That one was mine. I can.
Yeah, that was gonna say that's not.
But a better shot if I just pulled up on just Google Maps. And And so here would
Well,
be the
Okay.
senior housing here.
Could you move it over to the left a little? Because I can see your house really well, but I'd like to see
Is that better?
yeah. So Kevin, how much setback I know you don't know, but can you guess at how much setback from the rear side of those buildings and how much there is in between?
From the constable side,
Yeah,
I can tell you, actually had GIS pulled up on my screen, so I can tell you very quickly that the closest point, it's looks like about 15 feet from the edge of the road. And there's about 20 feet between the two buildings down along Kelly and Constable.
okay, and then on this one, there will be 25 feet between the existing structure and the new structure. And then looks like the sidewalk will be maybe 22 feet. The building will be 25 feet. And then, so, I mean, there is ample space compared to the senior citizens in the side lots. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think there would be more than enough room to put the structure on there the way they're presenting it.
Which way does that street go? Which one way? Does it go off?
Constable goes one way north.
So there would not be the need for two cars to pass. Because
There
it's a
shouldn't
one.
be unless somebody's passing somebody illegally.
Yeah, and the right of way on that is 30 feet. The road width varies from 14 to 16. So, I mean, technically you could squeeze two cars at some point, but yeah, there's really no reason for that to happen.
Well, I was thinking it was a one-way street, and I'm really glad David Drake clarified that for us.
There's not much traffic on that street, is there?
Not really, no. I mean, the majority of the traffic's going to turn onto Kelly Street into the senior housing if they don't go up Allen Street. I've never been sent to any parking issues in that area at all.
The one way from Constable up around Grant probably serves about 15 houses total.
Oh, okay.
So did we have any more questions from the commission for Kevin or for Mr. Landis? Okay, well, since I'm the president, I get to talk first.
Hey, ladies first.
Oh, we did have a raised hand, but it's not a plan commission member.
Is it someone we already heard from?
No, Heather Anderson.
Oh, she's the lady from his property manager. I just saw some message that said she has video. She can show us video from the scene if we need it, but I don't know that. I mean, I don't need to see any video. I've already been through there. I know what it looks like. Did anybody else? Okay. So what we're talking about here tonight is rezoning an area that could potentially add 2 more dwelling units in a big open space. I don't see how those 2 more units are going to make much, if any at all, difference in the traffic on that street compared to already having an apartment complex to the east. It's a very lightly traveled street to begin with. It's one way. No on-street parking is allowed. So if someone does park on the street for some reason, that can be dealt with legally. It's surrounded already by another apartment complex, or at least a big one to the east. They're going to create 8 parking spaces for those 2 units, which I think is plenty. If there were drainage issues in the past, we don't know about those now, and they may have already been fixed by a perimeter drain or whatever was talked about earlier, but we don't have any recent complaints about water drainage. We wouldn't be dealing with, if there's someone was wanting to build a single family house on this lot, we wouldn't even have any control over that drainage. So I don't see any reason to delay this under all of those circumstances. So that's my 2 cents. If someone would like to say something else or make a motion.
David, this is Pam, do you think we could table it or something until maybe Kevin's person checks it out just to be sure about the water?
I mean, if someone wants to make that motion, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, it's been vacant for a while. I really don't want to cause Mr. Landis to go out and hire an engineer for a single, one single lot, and then not even know whether he's going to be able to get a return on that. But like I said, he could actually pave the whole thing if he wanted to. So I think we're actually, not that he probably would, that it's likely, but I think under the circumstances, I don't really think hiring an engineer is really appropriate. But if someone wants to make a motion to table it to the next meeting, we can see, Mr. Landis, what are your feelings about that?
We do not have an aggressive timeline. Like, we're not, necessarily chomping at the bit to say, hey, we gotta build this tomorrow. But I do agree with you, though. It does seem that would be a substantial cost that we would have to factor into that, which would be significant for our, for the plans.
But so you don't have an issue if we want to table it to the next meeting, and in the meantime have our already employed stormwater drainage person look into any possible issues that.
Yeah, that would be totally reasonable. If it doesn't add extra cost or burden to others, then I think that makes sense. And I would also appreciate the insight, so that way, we can build around that as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. So would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to table this. I don't have the petition and everything, whatever numbers are.
PC
The
2112.
next meeting. What is it?
PC 2112.
PC 2112. I'll make a motion to table to the next meeting, PC 2112, so we can find out from our drainage personnel what the results would be on that, I guess. Way to say it.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
David Drake,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Terry Baker,
Yes.
Don Calvert,
Yes.
Sandra Hash,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
Pat Wesolowski.
Yes, and I want to make a comment too to
Motion carried.
the owner. I'm not doing it to delay it. I think we're better off being a penny wise and a dollar, whatever they call it. So if something would happen, at least we did our due diligence, and you would know what's going on also. So that's my only reason.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What are you doing, Layla?
Did I assume that passed? I kind of got lost there.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, I said motion carried.
Okay. So Kevin, are you gonna have the stormwater person get involved in that and have him talk to Mr. Landis?
I'll have him go out and look at it on Monday and see what his thoughts on it are.
Okay, and then
Thank
you
you.
guys will work with Mr. Landis to get it set up for our next meeting. Okay, thank you, Mr. Landis. That concludes the portion of the meeting about your stuff. We have a planning department update next.
I got nothing.
Got nothing. Okay, except for the fact that our next meeting is June 3rd of 2021 at 6:00 p.m. Is there any chance we'll be doing that in person?
I believe that's being discussed at council on Monday. So hopefully we'll have a better idea after that.
I think
Okay.
at the last meeting, they wanted to wait until June, so I think we'll meet before the council in June, so I'd say our next one will still be virtual.
Can I issue an executive order like President Biden?
The legislature amended in April of this year the statute with regard to virtual meetings or meetings that are open to the public. So I'm looking at that now, and I'll be prepared to talk about this a little bit more at Monday's council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is privilege of the floor. Is there anyone in the public who would like to address something that was not on our agenda tonight? Okay, hearing nothing. Plan Commission comments. Does anyone from the Plan Commission want to comment? Okay, well then how about a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
Do we have to do I forget, do we have to do a
Roll call.
roll call for adjourn on the Zoom?
Yes, please. Roll
Okay.
call on every vote.
Okay,
David Drake,
yes.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Carrie Baker,
Yes.
Don Calvert,
Yes.
Sandra Hash,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
Pat Wesolowski.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, well, that means we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on June 3rd.